The concept of Feels Like Home was something that came up in conversation with Brian Bromberg. And it literally started with Brian and I talking on the phone, and over the years we've become really good friends. And he literally said, when are we going to do an album? And got my wheels turning, and we sat down and kind of put together some ideas of music that I like, and called on a bunch of great players to play on the album: Jeff Lorber, Jeff Golub, Rick Braun, Alex Acuna, and of course Brian himself on bass. And went back to the basics and had guys in a room with real instruments making real music. Maynard Ferguson was by far one of my mentors. I had the pleasure of being on the road with him for a couple years, and through touring and playing with him, we did a lot of music education. Over half his concerts were geared towards high schools and colleges, where we went in and did clinics with students that were involved in jazz and jazz players and loved it. And it was very cool to see them up close and personal and make them a part of what was going on, kind of draw them into the music and give them a taste of what can happen when you really work hard and put it all into the music. My family is the biggest part of my life. My lovely wife Danielle and my daughter Sydney, which I actually wrote a song for her on this album called Sydney Style. That's number one, you know, being a father, being a husband, but that also fuels the fire to become a better player, to be more successful, to make the music more real, just to have a lot of heart and soul in whatever you do. And I think my family gives me that grounding, and it gives me the motivation that I need to move forward and push and push and push to be the best player that I can be. The original songs that were recorded on this album, the names were all appropriate to what it felt like when we were recording it. Sydney Style was a song that I wrote at home when my daughter was dancing around, and it was just her own little style. So it was black and white that tune was going to be called Sydney Style. Around the Corner was written with the intention of Jeff Golub playing, and that tune didn't have a name. It was actually Shuffle Number 1 until we got to the recording process where we had to pick a name. And through the entire thing, being in LA, talking to Brian Bromberg, the first question that I have is, well, can we get this guy on the album? Can we get this guy on the album? He's like, oh, they live around the corner. Every answer he had was they live around the corner. So apparently everybody in LA lives around the corner from Brian Bromberg. Sanctified was a track that Brian brought me to listen to. It was actually written for another sax player almost 10 years ago, and it was shelved by a record company, which they didn't feel it was the right tune at the time. Brian brought it to me, listened to it, and with my playing, the way I play, the way the song was written, and what it was all about, it just felt right. So we called the troops, and we got everybody possible on this album to make it the big song in the album and to push it to radio. And it came across with a feeling of earthiness, and it's really organic and real, and something that I hope the whole album portrays, that it's just real people making real music, and we're there because we love playing, and that's what the whole thing is about.